Okay, so the project is called antibiotic resistance, and we're fighting pathogens in the project. And for the introduction, my name is Saksham Srivastava. I'm going to grade 9, and my teammate was Sahana Sharon from grade 11. And the problem statement which we were trying to solve was that in the world there are many diseases, and most diseases are very complex to deal with. And some people are not that educated, and they don't have that much access to doctors or physicians to get their illness or disease checked. And that's why they cannot get the proper prescription. So that's why we created this project to give recommendations on antibiotics based on what disease or infection the patient has. So for the objective of my project is that the artificial intelligence model will understand different antibiotics based on the data set and generate a list of antibiotics like that will treat the disease or infection that the patient has or given in the input query. So, the background of the project is that different Kaggle data sets were used to find an antibiotic data set that had the list of different antibiotics and their uses in fighting pathogens and fighting infections and diseases. So, examples of the data sets which I used were the medicine data set and the antibiotic data set. And those were both from Kaggle. And I also used LLMs to generate a few data sets which had the different query formats which helped my AI model to understand the different queries and generate responses based on that. So for example, instead of directly saying like diabetes, for example, I can write sugar problems and the AI model will understand that it's like diabetes. So it'll give the antibiotics based on that. So first, let's go over the methodology now. So the first step is to derive the datasets from Kaggle and the LLMs, and then download the datasets, and then you put the datasets into a data folder on the PyCharm or any Python platform which you are using, and we can code the AI model to get the datasets from the data folder. Like if you name it something else, it will give an error because or you can just change the code. Like both of them have to be in sync. And the next thing is we have to code the model, and then by coding the model through the data sets, it will train and understand the data sets, and then we can have a code like how the AI model will give the list of the antibiotics that it has understood from the data sets based on the input query the patient has on his or her disease or infection. And after we have gotten the results of the list of antibiotics, we can create a Tkinter graphic user interface, which will then display the results that the AI model has generated. And to export this whole Python project, I have multiple ways, but unfortunately, I was not able to do it because it was a really complex, like a Python AI model. Like AI model was very complex. It used a lot of libraries, so it was like hanging in a lot of places. So the first way I did it was using Streamlit to export it into a website app. But however, it got hanged, and I tried everything. And also I used PyInstaller and PyCharm, PyInstaller and Py2 app to export my Python, but it worked to some extent. I can use the terminal on PyCharm to uh, open up my Tkinter graphic user interface, but I cannot send it to anyone. So I can show you the output on my screen. And yeah, so that was the final step for that. And now let's go over the system architecture of my project. So of the project. So the first there's a query input, and this input is where the user will enter the infection or disease that they're having. And then they'll click the submit button, and then that submit button will then uh, start the AI model's generation of the list of antibiotics. So it's going to it will already be trained from the data sets in the data folder, and then it will generate the results with the list of antibiotics based on the input. And then once the AI model has the results, it will then put it into a tkinter text widget, which will then display the results as shown in the picture. So then this is how the GUI works and how my AI model works.
Yeah, so everything looks really well thought. So do you have something more like the tool used?
Oh yeah, I just have tool use results and conclusion. It's almost done. So these are the libraries which I used. OS is to build the operating system and detect the app locations, basically to export it to an app. And SYS is used as is also used to create the app. And warnings I just use for my ease. I do not need to have that many messages on my terminal. And pandas is an important library to use for the AI reading the data sets CSV files from the data folder. And NumPy is a library which I use to generate the AI antibiotics list. And it also hooks with scikit-learn, like sklearn, which I use many different libraries from scikit-learn, like multi-label binarizer, logistic regression, train test fit, and one VS-REST classifier. And these are all transformers that are used to break down the input and then understand what the disease is so that it can generate the right list of antibiotics. And so is count vectorizer. And finally, Tkinter is used to generate the graphic user interface. And then I use Streamlit, PyInstaller, and Py2App to try and export my project. And for my results, I use the terminal first to convert my Python Tkinter into an app, and I can also run it through a Python script. And the goal which we had was achieved that the AI model would be able to generate a ranked list of antibiotics based on the user input of the infection or disease. And we achieved that goal by creating the AI model. And some example inputs would be sugar disease, runny nose, breathing problems, acid in throat. And the treatment that the AI model will give is 10 of the best antibiotics from the data sets it has been trained from, and it will give that in as an output result. And in conclusion, we were able to achieve our goal, and the AI model was trained from the correct data sets and it was able to give us the correct results. And now, for future improvements and further research, we can expand the training of the AI model by using many more data sets, and I can also explore many more applications in medical research, which I can use this AI and make more. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is really good. I mean, the work and the system architecture, everything is really on point, and the presentation is definitely really good. So so I can see that you really want to take this forward. You have discussed the future scope also, so you're really serious about this. So tell me, there are few questions that I'd love to hear your opinion on. Is that what was the difficulty that you faced when you were doing the project, and what was the experience that you think you really gained from this project?
Okay, so the one of the biggest difficulties which I experienced while making it was exporting it as an app or a website. So I really wanted to share my AI model with others and make sure that they're able to see it, like experience the graphic user interface. But it was my first time trying to export one of my works into an app, and it was really difficult for me to do so because I I had lots this was not I did not start from the basics. Like immediately went to create a very complex AI model using transformers, scikit-learn, and all of these complex libraries, and and it was really hard to export it. And I watched tutorials online too about it, and It was easy for them to export their project because it was a simple input output type of Python script. So now then I realized that it would be way more difficult for me to export my AI model, and maybe in the future I can look into it more and export my project as an application for both Mac and Windows.